Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. If you are nosy like I am, then this is definitely the video for you. I love speaking about money. I find money so interesting and fascinating, and I love speaking with my friends and family about how they spend their money, you know, what they save, what they invest, and all things like that. So I thought it'd be really fun today to film a what I spend in a month video. So I'm going to do this for the month of October, and I've already gone through and categorized all of my spendings, and I really figured that today we could kind of deep dive into where I spend all my money. And let me tell you, it was a bit eye-opening actually seeing everything written down and seeing where I spend my money, and some of the spendings are much higher than I would like them to be. Now, I would say that I'm someone that's always been, what's the word, quite in tune maybe with the finances. I literally remember from such a young age being, I'm a saver. I've always been a saver. It's just it comes natural to me to not spend money. I remember literally getting my first job, my first proper job, which was working at Waitrose, and honestly, it blew my mind. I was maybe 17 at the time when I started working there, but that I could go to work and get paid money. Honestly, it was just mind-boggling to me. And I know it sounds so silly in hindsight, but especially at that age, at 17, you know, I was living at home. I didn't have any outgoings whatsoever, and I was just getting this payment into my account every month. So it really just fueled my passion for saving, being good with money, and just being on top of things. Now, if I'm looking down or around, or if I have my little MacBook in the way, that's because I've just got everything written down on the computer. So I'm kind of referring to that whilst I'm speaking to you guys. But I'm gonna pop everything up on the screen as well into a nice little breakdown so that you can see everything. And fixed expenses, I guess, I should preface this by saying that Stephen and I share the majority, I guess, of the fixed expenses. So, you know, the likes of rent, our health insurance, internet, TV subscriptions, and our bills, all of that is split between the two of us. So the prices that I'm putting up here are the prices of what I personally pay. So anyway, let's get started. So we've got rent, firstly, is my first outgoing of the month, my biggest outgoing in terms of fixed expenses. And to be honest, we've got a really good deal on this apartment. Considering we live in Sydney's Eastern Suburbs, which are notoriously expensive, my rent for the month is $1,247. Again, like I said, that's split between, well, no, that's my share of our total rent, but yeah, our rent is about $575 a week or something like that together. The next thing we have is our health insurance, and it actually pains me to pay for health insurance because I've never used it. In the whole time that we've had health insurance, I've never used it. Touch wood, we'll never have to use it. The only reason we have health insurance is because of tax implications here in Australia. That's the only reason we took out private healthcare. We don't use it. I doubt we'll ever use it. We literally bought the minimum cover required for the tax purposes, pretty much. So, you know, that is what it is. It annoys me, but we have to pay it. And that is $83 per month. We are with Qantas for that, so we actually did get a sign-up bonus with points for Qantas. So, you know, it's always a good idea to check that out because you guys know I'm crazy about points as well. The next fixed expense, which it's not really a fixed expense, is my phone bill. So my phone I own outright. However, I obviously have to pay for internet and whatever on that. I'm just on a pay-as-you-go over here. I've not bothered taking out contract because the pay-as-you-go is literally so easy. So I paid $49, and the reason why I say it's not really a fixed expense is because I do pay-as-you-go. Some months I'll choose to do depending on how much internet I'm basically using. So sometimes I can literally get through 10 gigs of internet in a couple of weeks, and then I've got to buy more, buy another package basically. So this month it was $49. The next is our internet, and we usually pay $45 per month each for internet, so $90 in total. However, our internet didn't come out of our account in October, technically, and I can't remember which way around it was. It either came out in September or November. So it hasn't technically come out of October's amount of money, but $45 is what we usually spend each on our internet for the month. The next category would be bills, and our bills, the only bill we have to pay for is electricity, and that comes out once a quarter. So that actually should be due probably in the next few weeks or so, but we haven't got any bills to pay for October. So that is a lovely figure of $0. And the final thing which I have in my fixed expenses, which again, kind of is, kind of isn't. It used to just be a fixed expense because it used to just be my gym membership, which was just, I think it's like 50 odd something dollars a week or something like that. But I've started doing Pilates, and now that I see my new gym figure, making me doubt how much I like doing Pilates because it is so expensive. So my gym total for October was $479. Now, I don't know if I'm overreacting. I feel like that's a lot of money. Bear in mind, actually, I haven't even really been to Fitness First during the last month because I have been being lazy. I have been doing my Pilates classes. I've been doing 2 a week. So it probably is worth the money because it's really the only exercise that I'm doing at the moment. But $479 overall, more than what I would ideally like to spend. So in total, that brings our fixed expenses to $1,879. So if I do another one of these videos in the future, I would imagine my fixed expenses should stay more or less there. I know that's the whole purpose of a fixed expense, but like I said, some of those are a little bit semi-fixed. We're going to move on to what I call living expenses. Now this is really food, petrol, Ubers, public transport, basically things that are not fixed but are essential to living life basically. So let's get started with groceries. So in October we spent, I also don't know why I just called it groceries. It's because on my spreadsheet it says groceries because it's obviously like an American format that I've got, but food shopping is what I would actually call it. And on food shops in October I spent $739. And oh my goodness, that is actually crazy. I was just thinking, I was looking at that figure and I thought, oh, okay, $739, that's not too bad. Usually I try budget about $200 a week for food. That's my half. So that means Stephen and I have spent like almost $1,500 on food in October. And that's just like food shops. Like this is just going to Coles. This is not talking takeaways. This is not talking eating out. This is just going to Coles. I'm actually not okay with that figure. Oh, I thought I was doing so well with $739. I thought, oh, under budget, great. That is actually disgusting. How have I spent that much money on food? I know food shopping in Australia is expensive, but that is not okay. That needs to be reviewed ASAP. I am like an avid believer in a weekly food shop. So I always do my food shop on like a Friday or a Saturday online, and then I pick it up on a Sunday from Coles. And I try to just stick to that. So I don't know what we were doing in October. We were obviously just like popping to the shop here and there, picking up whatever we wanted. And honestly, I can't get over that number. That is actually ridiculous. It'll be interesting now to see another month to see what's going on with our food bill, because I hope we don't spend that every single month on food. Let's move on from that because that was a little bit upsetting. And the next thing I've got is car expenses. Now, we're pretty lucky in the sense that we don't have that many car expenses. Our car is paid in full. We pay for our registration and our insurance in full every year. So that's a bit rubbish when it comes to that time, but for the rest of the year it's fine because we've already paid it off. And yeah, so it's really just like tolls and petrol. And honestly, we barely did any of those things in October. We had one toll, which was $13. Not that bad considering Sydney is, I think Sydney's the highest tolled city in the world or something crazy like that. For fuel, we've got $9. And I know that that seems ridiculous, but the reason we have $9, and I don't know if this happens to anyone else, but I feel like it always happens to me, and I don't think I'm doing anything wrong. But when I go to fill up the car, and this used to happen to me back home in England as well, I'd like, you know, get the little, whatever it is, the petrol thing out, put it in the car, press the button, and it just like goes like starts pumping for literally like a second, and then it like makes like a clicking noise, and then you have to like push the and then it just like locks out basically. So I do that over and over and over again, and it was really embarrassing because I had cars queued up behind me, and obviously it was taking me like so long to fill up my car, but my car was on empty and I needed diesel to get home. So I managed to get it to $9, and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna have to leave it there and hope that $9 worth of diesel gets me home, which it did. So yeah, that's why there's like a random amount of diesel on the car for this month. Public transport. Now I really don't use public transport all that often, and actually public transport in Sydney is pretty cheap. So where we live is pretty much walking distance to like everything I could ever need to go to. So I try and always walk wherever I can, but if I'm going into the city, then I would usually need to get like the train or something like that, or sometimes if I'm being lazy, I'll get the bus from the beach back home because it's uphill and I don't want to walk uphill in the heat. But yeah, I spend $8 on public transport, so that's very good. And then the final category, I guess it's not really like a life cost, it's like a want, but when I'm feeling lazy and we get Ubers places, in total in October I spent $76 on Ubers, which is not the worst, it's not the best, but I think we can live with that. I feel like that one we can be okay with. Now that would bring our total for living expenses to $845 for the month of October. So moving on to the next category, and I guess this one's probably like the most interesting one, is the wants category. So this is like everything that is not essential, it's just things that I wanted this month, or like things that I bought that aren't basically anything essential to daily living. Like I said earlier, I am still annoyed with myself for that food bill, like the food shopping bill, because in October I also spent $100 on takeout. And when I say takeout, I'm basically classifying that as like McDonald's, Subway, anything that's just like fast food is what I classify as takeout. I separate takeout and eating out because I feel like eating out is something that I enjoy doing, and I feel like I don't mind spending my money there, whereas takeout is just like feeling lazy or not being healthy. So like, don't like the takeout, don't mind the eating out category. So eating out for October, we did $173, which I feel like is basically nothing. I don't think Stephen and I did any dinners really in October at all. I feel like that bill is actually just like little breakfasts and lunches here and there whilst I've been away. So it's actually that, I feel like that's a pretty good level for a whole month. The next section that I have in my wants is entertainment. Now entertainment is basically like any activity. So like if we go to the cinema, if we go play tennis, bowling, anything like that is where I put entertainment. And I can't remember exactly what it was that makes up the larger amount in October, but the majority of that $415 was to tickets to go to the Australian Open in January. So those tickets were like $250, and then the other bits are just like bits and pieces that we've done on the weekend and things like that. So that one is high. However, like we wanted to go to the Australian Open, so like we knew that that expense was coming. The next thing that we're on to is personal care. Now personal care is things like hair, nails, medications, anything like that. And I have stopped getting my nails done. I haven't had my hair done in a long time. Well, not that I really do much to my hair. I'm saying that as if I'm like a blonde that has highlights. I literally get my hair cut like once every few months and that's about it. So my personal care spend for the month was only $30, which I think is pretty good. I'm very happy with that. Moving on to clothes. Now clothes I feel like is the devil category for girls because we can spend so much money on clothes. Like it's actually ridiculous sometimes how much money we spend on clothes, especially because we do always have full wardrobes, as much as that is not all we want to hear. So I've really been trying to cut down my clothes spending, especially because like I do have a lot of stuff in my wardrobe, and yeah, it's just one of the categories I'm really trying to cut down on, and I do think I have significantly this year. I went through a phase last year of literally just buying everything and anything, whereas now like I've chilled out a bit. I've got a lot of basics, like there are things that I can wear. In October, I spent $156 on clothes, and I'm trying to remember what exactly that was. I know for sure I bought a sports bra and running shorts from Gymshark, which I feel like they were essential because I've started running and I've started training for this half marathon, and I'm trying to find shorts that don't make my legs chafe. So that was definitely about $100 for those two things. And for the life of me, I can't remember what the other thing was. Let me see if I can find out quickly. Okay, I just looked through my little spreadsheet. So the other $56 was from Cotton On, and I actually just bought myself two little, how would you describe it? Basically like knockoffs of the Lululemon Align crop. and for 2 of those it was $56, which is so good, because I actually went and tried on the Lulu one and I was prepared to pay for it, but I don't feel like the one that we've got here is suited for larger chests. I know in America they've got one that's like designed for certain cup sizes. They don't have that here in Australia. So I tried that on and I was like, I could literally wear this to a bar. So I don't feel like it's okay for me to wear that in the gym. So yeah, I got cheap versions from from Cotton On, and I actually really like them. I would definitely recommend them if you are on the lookout for like a little Pilates top type thing. So the next one, this one annoys me a lot, really annoys me, and this is the night out / alcohol category. And I feel like I have this fight with myself on a regular basis. And actually, if you watched 2 weeks of videos ago, I said that I was going to do a no drink November, and I did fail because I drank last weekend. But we've started fresh. I'm not drinking this weekend, I'm not drinking next weekend. And I feel like it annoys me so much even looking at this number, but in October, I spent $665 on alcohol and nights out. That's so annoying. That's so much money that was literally just like, not wasted, because like I don't think it's a waste. However, I feel like the older I get, the less inclined, the less I care about drinking. I can definitely go on a night out and I can still have fun without drinking. And I know that I get more annoyed with myself the next day, realizing that I've spent all that money. So yeah, I think November's cost will definitely be like much lower than October's. I can't even think what I was doing in October. I know I had loads on, like we went to Jarvis Bay. I feel like I had something every single weekend in October that was basically focused around alcohol. So that's annoying, but no point stressing over things we can't change. So let's move on to a more exciting category, which is holidays. And you guys know, I know, everyone in my life knows, I will spend money on holidays. That is the thing that I enjoy most in my life. I think when you are young and you are able, you should travel as much as you can possibly afford, manage with work, like whatever it is. I feel like it's so important to experience cultures and travel the world, see amazing places. And you know, I'm at a point in my life where I'm not tied down to anything. I don't have a mortgage, I don't have kids, I don't have any pets. So, well, I do technically have a dog, but my mum looks after her for me back in England. So yeah, I don't care about spending money on travel. Like that is the one thing that I don't mind how much money I spend there. And the total amount that I spent on holidays in October was $1,025. And this was actually only on 2 things. One thing's not that exciting because it's just flights to Melbourne for the Australian Open. And the other part of that was our flights to New Caledonia, which we're doing at the end of March next year. So those are the 2 things for the holiday category. Now that's kind of the end of like the wants list. I'm actually so intrigued now to compare like month on month and see how much I do actually spend, and see whether, you know, this month was like an anomaly or whether like, you know, I'm pretty consistent in my spending. So the total for my wants was $2,584. So yes, let's move on to the final category that I've got today, which is basically savings and investments. Now this category is like probably one of my favorites. Like I said at the start of the video, I love saving. Not that I love investing, but I feel like it's really important to invest, and obviously I can see the long-term benefits of that. I've been investing for, how old am I now? 27. I've been investing for maybe 6 years, I would think. And I started off just with a with a lifetime ISA back in England. And I was putting money into that every year. And then I was like investing the money in there into whatever like funds and stuff I've got money invested into. And then when I moved to Australia, I opened up an investment account with Stake. So I also try and invest regularly into that account. So with my savings, I used to just have like one savings account, right? That I would just stick all my savings in there. And I used to find that it would really annoy me because when it came to like big spends, like holidays or whatever it might be, I was having to take money out of my savings to pay for it. And that irritated me. And then I read this book. This is called She's on the Money by Victoria Devine. And I read this maybe last year, I think, at some stage. And it really it didn't really open my eyes to anything, but it did help me with a few tips and tricks. And one of the things that she says in here is to have different savings accounts for different things. And that to me has been a big game changer. So I probably would say actually it has been life-changing, because if you get anxious about like dipping into your savings and things like that, this is the way to do it. So basically what she says is have different savings accounts for different topics or different things, right? So I've only got two, to be honest. Actually, I've got my house savings, the money that I'm saving for, well, in Sydney market, who knows, but hopefully one day being able to buy a house. And the second one is my travel funds. I like to call them, or like holiday money basically. So it pretty much means that like by the time that it comes round to booking a holiday or paying for accommodation or whatever it might be, I've pretty much got the money ready to go. And in my head, I've already spent it because it's gone into my holiday spending money. So like in my head, I've already spent that money. It's not mine. It's not part of my savings. It's just funds for holidays. So I try every fortnight to put in $500. Doesn't always happen, depends what's going on in the month, but I try every fortnight to do $500. But anyway, in October, in my house savings, I put in $1,848, and for my holiday savings I put in $500. Now technically the money that I spend on flights, etc., the reason why I've only got 500 in for this month rather than 1,000 is because instead of putting money in to take it back out for those Melbourne flights and the New Caledonia flights, I pretty much just said, okay, well, I'll just put that money straight onto those rather than like putting money in to take it straight back out. So that's what happened with my savings this month. And then for my investments in October, I invested $600. So I try to do about $300 a fortnight. Again, kind of depends what's happening in life, but I do try to make that a priority because it is important. And as we all know, you know, compound interest and all that fun stuff, time is the most important thing when it comes to investing. So it's good to start from a young age. And by the way, I am no means educated enough to provide any sort of financial advice or advice on investments. This is just what I personally do. So yeah, don't take any advice. Just if you're nosy like me, that's exactly what this video is for. And so yeah, that brings us to the end of our last category, and the total amount for my savings and investments for October was $2,948. Now let's talk about totals. And the way that I'm going to do this is technically, obviously, like my savings and investments, they're not really spends. It's just kind of like its own separate thing. But yeah, like I said, you just had my total for spendings on savings and investments, which is 2,948. So my total spend for fixed, variable and wants came to around about $5,300 for October. Now, like I said, I actually don't know if that's like a good month or a bad month for me. There are definitely some things on there that were high, but there were also some things on there that were lower than I would probably expect them to be. So it'll be interesting actually to see and track this over a couple of months to see what my spending habits are actually like. And honestly, I challenge you to do this as well, because like that food bill, eye-opening to figure out how much money you're spending on things. So, and there's definitely months that I know that I've had worse, like high takeout bills and things like that. Now, if you made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. This was definitely a very chatty, rambly video, but I actually had fun filming this and it was eye-opening to see what I spend my money on. So I might make this like a little regular series. Thanks a lot. See you next week. Bye.